ladies and gentlemen, in February of 1980, a group of young Americans pulled off, it says, one of the greatest upsets in sports history. I think I would say the greatest upset in sports history. And that was when the United States of America, amateur young guys, beat the Soviets. And of course, the captain of that team, who scored the game-winning goal, the Miracle on Ice, and you know the movie, is Mike Eruzione. And I got to tell you, Mike, he won an Olympic gold. He was captain of the '80 team. He's got a whole history of being connected to hockey, but didn't go into professional hockey. Didn't want to do that because he won the gold. He felt he had everything. But Mike, every time I mention your name, like I was this morning, I was in the gym and I've been on phone calls. Had a guy in here for a meeting. Every time I say, guess who I'm going to interview? I'm going to interview Mike Eruzione. Do you know that everybody knows who you are?
My my grandson said last year we were at an event together and he looked up and he says, "Papa, you're famous." I just looked
And
at him and I started laughing. But it's nice to be known for something good.
well, the thing that's so amazing is think about that. That was 45 years ago.
Yeah.
And Eruzione is not exactly an easy name, but maybe that's what makes it so special because I've been taken aback a little bit by the fact that so many people know you. And I was watching Miracle, which is on an airplane, and here I am jumping up and down in the aisles, and all that kind of stuff. But the most famous line from that movie or from that whole event was Al Michaels saying, "Do you believe in miracles?" As the clock ticked down and we won. But I'm wondering if there is a better line that we don't talk much about. And you'll have to tell us about that. And
I,
that was when you were skating back and forth and you finally said,
right.
"I'm Mike Eruzione. I play for the United
Yeah.
States of America." Was that true?
That's a good line, wasn't it?
It really was. Was that you?
No, that didn't happen. That was
Oh,
we
that thing.
did.
No, you should say it happened.
Oh
Make
no,
it up.
I tell people I sometimes I'll tell people it happened because I don't want to disappoint them. When I saw the movie and I saw the whole we did skate that scene did happen. We skated for about an hour and a half after the game. They shut the lights off in the building. And when I saw the movie and I saw that heard that line, I asked the guy. I said, "That's pretty powerful." He goes, "Well, we had to find a way to connect your tie-in and your team's tie-in to the United States and how important that moment was." And he said, "I know your background. I know your history. Your dad was a Marine. I know you talk a lot about this country when you speak at sales meetings." And we thought that would just be an appropriate line from you to kind of talk about what that moment was. So I thanked him. I says, "Well, thank you very much. It's a great line." And like I said, sometimes I tell people, "Oh yeah, it just came out of the blue." But I will tell you the line that I think that nobody talks that much about is when Al Michaels after we beat Finland says this impossible dream comes true. Because if we don't beat Finland, you and I aren't having a conversation today. This moment doesn't happen. So the Finland game, as great as the Soviet game was because of the political aspect of it and the fact that it was the Soviets and it was a huge upset. But if we don't beat Finland, there's a chance we don't win a medal. And we're,
Well,
we're not
well,
having this
Mike,
conversation.
this was on my list, by the way, of questions. This is really we're just going to chat like you're a Boston boy. Okay, I'm a Pittsburgh boy. My daughter lives on Beacon Hill right now. I'm going to have her
Oh,
meet
wow.
you sometime. Was that possible, where she could meet you?
Yes. I
That'd be
work at
really
Boston University, so I'm not far away
great.
from where
Great.
she works.
Great. And so the Soviets whacked you, right? Just no more than what, a week or two earlier. And first of all, how did you psychologically get ready to play them again so quickly? And because they really drilled you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
tell us. They
Yeah.
just
We lost 10-3. But that was the last game of a 68 game 6 month training trial travel period. And the game didn't mean anything other than the fact that we played in Madison Square Garden and lost the game. But I think the next time we played him was a totally different hockey team, a totally different mindset. That game that we played and lost 10-3 was never, ever talked about or brought up again. Even the day before we were getting ready to play the Soviets, we played the Soviets on a Friday. At practice on Thursday, as we were preparing to play them, Herb never once brought up the game that we played 2 weeks earlier. It was as if the game never happened. And even in the locker room before the game, it was never talked about what happened in the past. We were a totally different team with a
Why were
totally
you what
different
made you
mindset.
totally different?
Well, it counted now.
Okay.
It was the
Okay.
Olympic Games, and I think the fact that the team was now finally put together. That was the last game. A couple of guys still hadn't got cut from the team yet.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think the mindset of our team, the preparation, we were ready to play going into the Olympic Games, and
All
I
right.
think we
Look,
were ready to play that night.
we got a lot to cover. So here you are, you win the gold medal game. You guys are like, we'll have to get to that in a second. But then you go and play Finland. Were they any good?
Yeah.
They were?
You got to remember we were losing 2-1 going into the third period. Finland was awfully loaded. They were talented. They wouldn't be there obviously if they weren't. And they had been breezing through their competition as well. Sweden and Finland were two two powerhouse kind of teams at that time, and they wouldn't have been in that game if they weren't very good as well.
Well, were you guys nervous you could lose that game?
I don't think you're nervous. I think you run the whole gamut of emotions. I think you're excited, you're curious, you're anxious, you can't wait to play the game. But I remember after the second period when we were losing 2-1, and Herb came in and spoke to us, and I remember Jack O'Callahan. He must have said it 100 times. There's no way a bunch of Finns are keeping us from a gold medal, and it was, in my opinion, the best 20 minutes of hockey we played all year. All year. The best
Really?
20 minutes was the 20 minutes against Finland in the third period, and we dominated the third period. We scored 3 goals and we won 4-2.
Um, that's really interesting. Okay, we got to talk about Herb Brooks, the coach. Okay, he's portrayed really amazingly in the movie. Tell us about how you felt about him.
Well, he was a lot friendlier in the movie. Um,
Is that true?
oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Kurt Russell, first of all, Kurt Russell was amazing. I mean, he was brilliant as Herb Brooks. But in the movie, they softened him up a little. They had a couple of scenes where he smiled. You saw his wife a lot in the movie, and I don't remember seeing Patty, during the Olympics at all. So they kind of showed the softer side of Herb, which I didn't know existed. But but John,
What do you
that's
mean?
how
Was he really tough? When you say he was tough or not that or softer side of him, what was he like?
he was hard to play for. He was demanding, but you know what? That's how coaches coached in the 70s. My high school football coach, my high school baseball coach, my high school hockey coach, 4 years of playing under Jack Parker at Boston University. I mean, that's how coaches coached. And you deal with it. What are you going to do? Quit? You can yell at me all you want. I only got to deal with you for a couple of hours. The thing about her, and I say this today when I talk to other kids who play for coaches, if you don't trust your coach and if you don't respect your coach, you're in trouble. So, as hard as Herb was to play for, we trusted him in what he was doing, and we respected him in what he was doing. So, if practices are going to be hard and he's going to challenge you and skate you and get in your face, that's okay. I also sometimes say Herb was like your dad. You love your dad, but sometimes you hate your dad because he makes you do things you don't want to do. That was Herb. So you deal with it. I'm not quitting. I want to be on this team. You can challenge and push me and make me skate all you want. And practice is over. I'm going to go with the boys, have a few beers, and get ready for practice tomorrow.
In the movie, they make him out to be designing something that traditional hockey folks didn't think was the right thing. Talk a little bit about that, Mike.
Well, that's the thing that was interesting. He was going to change the way we play the game. The Olympic Games is played on a bigger sheet of ice. It's wider and it's longer. It's a totally different game than you play in the North American game. So he was going to change the way we play. He were going to take a blend of the North American game and a blend of the European game, basically how the Russians play, and we were going to learn that system. And for 6 months, we trained that way, crisscrossing, interchanging, things that we'd never done before. A style of hockey that he felt would make us successful in the Olympic Games and not play the old North American, kind of style of the game. And people said to Herb, you can't teach in 6 months what the Europeans been doing their whole life. And typical Herb, he said, I can and we will. And we adapted and learned a different game. And it was amazing how successful we were, which I think was a tribute to Herb and his willingness to change the game. And I think a tribute to our team that we understood how successful we could be by playing that way. And it was fun. You know, change can be fun. If you haven't been successful in the past, don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to do something different. And Herb used to tell us all the time, you can't be common. The common man goes no place. We are going to be uncommon. And that's almost an exact quote of what Herb would tell us. So it was fun learning a new style of hockey. And the conditioning, the speed of our team. I'm going to give you a statistic, and I didn't know about this till about a year ago because I haven't really watched a lot of Olympic of our highlights of 1980. But in the third period, we outscored our opponents. I think it was 16-3. That's an unbelievable number. The Finns didn't score in the third period. The Soviets didn't score in the third period. The Czechs didn't score in the third period. Sweden didn't score in the third period. So all the conditioning, all the skating, all the drills that we did clearly paid off. And those third period, shutdowns were part of that.
Um, when you guys went off the ice, when you beat the Soviets, and maybe for us as as like common Americans, maybe you had a different feeling about that because you knew Finland was coming next, or you knew somebody was coming next. When you got into the locker room, having beaten the Soviets, what was it like in there?
Oh, it was great. It just guys hugging each other and the excitement, the energy. We had just done something incredible. And it's funny when the game ended and we went in the locker room when we were done, a lot of my teammates went back to the house where our parents were staying and got to watch the game because the game was on a tape delay. I didn't get a chance to see it. I didn't get a chance to see it because ABC rather, grabbed Jim Craig and I and brought us to downtown Lake Placid. And Jim Lampley interviewed us right after the game. And I was there with my mother and father, and Jim's dad was there. And then I went back to the village to our trailer. The U.S. athletes were in trailers, and I walked into my trailer, and Jimmy Craig was there with Billy Baker and Phil Ricotta. And during the day we had snuck out of the village and went to the store and got some beer and had it put in the fridge, and we just sat around and had a couple of beers and embraced the game and the fun and what a great moment it was. And then we get up for practice on Saturday and we go in the locker room and guys are still giddy and we're laughing and signing pictures, and Herb comes in and flips out. I mean, just screaming and yelling. I think he tipped the table up, flipped the table, and proceeded to put us through one of the hardest practices we had all year. And I was like, why is he so pissed? We just beat the Soviets. And later on, after I realized, and he told me, that what he had to do was get all that energy out of us. He had to break us back down, get us back to earth, and get ready to play Finland. And I said to him, I said, Herb, we were ready to play Finland. You didn't have to skate us that hard after the Soviet game. But he was preparing us, and that's why he was brilliant at preparation for the next game, knowing that we still had another game to play. We knew it, but he had to make us aware of it. And by doing that was by skating us that hard in practice.
Mike, when did Herb die? He died in a car accident, right?
Yeah, he
How long?
died
How what year was that?
right before the movie, right before the Miracle movie came out. He was coming back from a golf tournament. Apparently, he kind of fell asleep at the wheel, and went off the side of the road. And I don't know if that was 22 or 24. I'm trying to remember when the movie came out.
Um, so how did you guys all feel about that when you heard that? How did you feel about
Well, it
losing
was
him?
obviously sad. I mean, you lose a friend, you lose your coach, you mean a man that you loved and respected. But then you also realize that his wife and his daughter and his son and his grandkids lost, an important part of their life. So, just as when Bobby Suter and Mark Wells and Mark Pavlich passed away, three of my teammates, Doc Nagabats passed away, our trainer, equipment manager passed away. I think, that's it's part of your family that you've lost. And it's always very difficult whenever you lose a loved one. But it was sad for us that Herb was no longer around because his family
Yeah,
missed
yeah.
him.
What would you say were the best things about him? Would you have called him a great leader?
Yeah, I think a great leader would be a good thing. I think a man that, again, I said it earlier, you totally respected and trusted. Um, and he had a difficult task of putting a team together. And you respected his decisions. I mean, six guys got cut from the team, and that was, I know, very hard for him to do that as well.
Were you ever worried you could have been cut?
Oh no, he threatened to cut me. He threatened to cut me right before the Olympics, right before the games.
What did he tell you?
He said, I think you can play a little better, and I think I'm not sure if I'm going to keep you. He said, I'll just tell people you hurt your back, and I'll bring you in as maybe an assistant coach with the team. And part of me said, he can't cut me. I'm the captain. And the other part said, he can cut me because he's hurt. He can do this. And I think it was just another way for him to challenge me. And I went out and played pretty well in the next couple of games that we played. So he always was pushing the envelope. He's always challenging you, not just me, almost everybody in the team. That was just, as he used to say, there's a method to my madness. And you always wondered what it was. But when the smoke cleared and we won an Olympic gold medal, you saw that his method worked. So, again, I think as a coach and as a leader of a team, you couldn't have asked for a better person.
Now, your buddy, I suppose you're still friends, Jim Craig, the goalie, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about him.
Well, I don't see Jim that often. He's down in Florida. But, Jimmy's performance, you don't win without great goaltending. And when we needed Jimmy to be there, he was there. I think what to me gets lost a lot of times and I think that's the media and stuff. They always talk about Mike Eruzione and they always talk about Jim Craig and they always talk about, Herb Brooks. But if it wasn't for Mark Johnson, we don't win. Mark Johnson was the MVP of the whole tournament. He was spectacular. Without Kenny Morrow, the solid defenseman who went and won 4 Stanley Cups with the Islanders, we don't win. Without Davey Christian, I mean, I can go right down the list. 20 players made that happen. We played 4 lines. We didn't just play 2 lines of certain players. We played everybody for 7 games. And without the contributions of everyone, we don't win. As great as my goal was, if Mark didn't score 2 in that game, we're not in that position. If Davey Christian, who right before the Olympic Games, Herb decides to move back to play defense because Jack O'Callahan got hurt, his performance was amazing for a kid who never really played defense, but he's playing in the Olympic Games as a defenseman. And he was a key part to our success. So yeah, I guess, what I'm saying is you look
You're a
back
team.
at everything.
You're a team.
100%
And
right.
you're a team now. You look back and you're a
Yes.
team.
Yes.
What about Jack O'Callahan? Wasn't he the guy that got hurt and then
Yeah. Jack played more in the movie than he did during the Olympics.
okay.
We
Well,
kid, we kid,
but he
we,
played the last game, right?
oh
Did
no,
he?
he played the last few games on basically a leg and a half. And that's again the type of leader Jack was. I thought Herb was because we didn't know if Jack was going to be able to play. But Herb knew how important Jack was to our locker room. He knew how important Jack was to the team. And to bring him along, hoping he might get in for 2 or 3 games was important for our team to have Jack on the ice, and more important to have Jack in the locker room. So, I've known Jack since he was in high school. We played against each other. We played with each other at Boston University. And Jack brought that it to it. He brought that we need you around type of player. And I think Herb saw that and was hoping he'd get Jack to play. And he did come back. He did come back and play a few games. But going in, we didn't know if he was going to be able to play. And Herb still felt it was important to have him, around us.
Mike, when it was all over, when you won the medal, you guys got your medals up on the stage, and what was it like in America for all of you when that ended? I mean,
Well,
what did you do? Was there a parade? I don't even remember.
yeah, it was just a very proud moment for my teammates and I. I've said this many, many times over the last 40 years. I firmly believe this is other than being a police officer, a firefighter, or somebody in the military who supports our country and does so much for our country and our freedom. Putting on a USA jersey is the greatest feeling you can have. You're not playing for Minnesota or Chicago or Pittsburgh or Boston. You're playing for your country. And to be able to win a gold medal in your country at a very difficult time, I'm going to get into the political end of it, but as a country, we were looking for something to feel good about. And along we come. And to stand on the podium and see our flag being risen just a little higher and everybody in the building singing the Star Spangled Banner. It doesn't get any better than that. So I think when you look back on that moment and the feeling of pride, we didn't know it was a big deal, to be honest with you. We knew people in Lake Placid were excited. We knew my family and friends at home were excited. But until we went to the White House, when President Carter sent the plane to take the athletes to the White House, that's when we realized that this thing was huge. The streets from the airport to Washington to the White House were lined with people and waving flags and the moment that the people would come up to you. I mean, to this day, people come up to me, and depending on how old they are, they'll say, I remember where I was when 9/11. I remember where I was, in Pearl Harbor. I remember where I was when Kennedy was assassinated. And I remember where I was when we won. And I always go to them, I didn't know you were on the team. But that that's what
Yeah,
that
we were
moment.
all on your team, buddy.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
remember that?
yeah. And that's what that moment was. And we did not know it until we got out into the country. And now, 45 years later, still appreciate what that moment meant. I know it's over and ended, it moved on, but as you probably know, last week we received the Congressional Gold Medal. We were in the White House with President Trump. What an incredible honor that is to receive that. When you look at the people whose names that have received that, is again a great honor for our team. So I think we just look at it as something special.
Yeah.
We could use a
Well,
1980 now.
what about you for sure? What about you, Mike? So, are you still out there doing a lot of speaking?
Yeah.
And what do you? Okay, so
Well, I work at Boston University. I've been there almost 30 years in the athletic department there.
what do you
Uh,
do?
it's almost an ambassador role in some ways. I mean, I meet with recruits from all sports. Obviously, hockey, with respect to all our sports, hockey, we kind of hang our hat on our hockey program at BU. Matter of fact, we have five kids from five BU alums that will be playing in Milan at the Olympic Games. So I meet with high-end donors. I meet with students. So it's whatever the university asks me to do, I try to do. I continue to do a lot of motivational speaking. I travel quite a bit. This year is kind of crazy and hectic. I think I've got 10 appearances in the next 2 months of corporate outings. I'm actually going to Malta to speak at a sales meeting for Bain Capital in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be in Milan for Delta Airlines for 5 days during the Olympic Games. My wife and I are going to go over there. So, I got seven grandkids, so it's kind of fun. Their oldest is 13, and they're all kind of playing hockey and soccer and football, and just kind of living my life. But this thing, if it ends, it ends. If it continues, it continues. So I keep telling my wife it's going to end. This will be the last year, and I've got appearances all the way coming up until October and December of 2026.
That's
So
great. That's
who
great.
knows?
Yeah.
Just enjoy it
Um,
and
so what
embrace it.
does your wife say to you? Does she you don't seem like you're out of control, but she must pound on you from time to time,
No,
huh?
my wife and I have been together for almost 50 years. She grew up 3 houses from me. I live next door to the house I grew up in. So she knows my act. We've
Yeah.
been a long time, and she gets it. She understands it. I think she gets a little frustrated because I have a hard time saying no. And one of the things, as we're doing now, podcasts. I mean, it seems like everybody in the world has a podcast. After I talk
They
to you,
do?
I have another one after I talk to you about a guy in Italy that's going to be broadcasting the Olympic Games. He wants to talk to me at 5 o'clock tonight, and
Good.
tomorrow I have another one. So I mean,
You're busy. You're in
I'm
demand.
busy.
That's good to see.
I'm busy, and it's good, and my wife totally understands it, which is even more important.
Now, this is a crucial question, and I don't want you to answer this too quickly. Have you ever been to Limoncello on the North End?
I talked to Maurizio 2 days ago because I have some friends in town who were looking to go into the North End. So I said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of you." So I called Maurizio and I set up a table for four. So yes, I do go to the Limoncellos. I go to Preza. I go to Davio's in the Seaport area quite a bit. My wife and I made a New Year's resolution that we're not going to go out to dinner as often as we do. So the North End is a good spot for me. It's not far from where I live. I live next to the Logan Airport.
Well, Mike, listen, I'm going to let you go. I know you're busy. This was just a delight. And So I'm going to stay in touch. My daughter, I'd like
Yes.
her to meet you. And sometime when I'm there with my wife, maybe we could have dinner.
Would love to do it. Would go to Limoncello's. We go to Prezzo. We go to
We're going to Limoncello's.
Cello's.
There's no.
Okay,
Oh,
I'll call you.
just last quick question,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
is about what about having the professionals now playing? I mean, what made it so great was, the amateurs. Do you have a
right.
sense of that? What do you think about all
Well,
that?
the Olympic Games has changed drastically in all sports, and
Yeah,
one of the things when I found out the pros were playing, I was curious, would they go compete against each other? Would Brooks Orpik, who played for the Penguins at the time, hit Mario Lemieux or hit Sidney Crosby? And Brooks said, absolutely. He says, we're playing for the Olympic Games. We're playing for our country. We'll settle our differences after if there's an issue. And when I knew how hard they were going to play against each other, I was all in favor of it. And I think we saw that at the last Four Nations tournament. I mean, they compete. And
right.
I think even Sidney Crosby said it best, as I just said it to you about USA jersey. When you put the Canadian crest on your jersey, it's a different feeling. And, Mario, you're a Pittsburgh guy. Mario is one of my closest friends. And we've talked about it many times. And the fact that the best players in the world are playing, I think it's great to see because if we send our college kids and the Canadians send their pros and the Europeans send their pros, I think it's a lot different now than it was 45 years ago.
Right.
The growth of our sport, where these players are coming from, they're coming from Pittsburgh, they're coming from California, Florida, Texas. The game has grown, not only our men's game, but our women's game has grown drastically. Our
Yeah.
women are so good now. So it's great to see the best players play.
Well, I want to wish you God bless and a happy new year. And I look forward to seeing you sometime in the not too distant future. Mike,
Would
thanks
love
for
to
taking
get,
the time.
Thank you very much. I'd love to get together. It'd be fun.
All right, sir.
Take
Thank
care.
you.